What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if EA is actually going to be the winner of this Warner Bros. Games purchase. Okay, so there's a little tidbit of information that came out yesterday from EA themselves, and we'll go through kind of what they say and kind of go through worst case scenarios. It seems pretty real, and it's something that obviously we've warned about in the past. Now, really quickly, before I jump into that, though, I want to promote my second channel. If you guys have not yet checked it out, it'll be in the description below. A lot of similar kind of things I do over there, but also some things that are very, very different. So again, if you guys have not yet checked that out and you like the kind of content I make, definitely more of it over there. Okay, so yesterday EA had a call basically, and they answered some questions, and one of the questions was basically about purchasing studios, okay? And they had said that they're more interested than ever. They're looking more, more than they ever have before in acquiring studios. So, nowhere in there did they specifically say, like, yes, we're going after Warner Bros. Games, like they're our primary target. And I guess the additional bit of information here was EA CFO Blake Jorgensen was responding to questions regarding future acquisitions in today's financial call, including about a big asset, likely referring to Warner Bros. Games. So you have insiders, and by the way, you have very, very reliable insiders in the gaming industry saying that. So, there has been times, popping up on Reddit, even Reset Era sometimes, where these kind of things, you could say, okay, well, it's just made up. This guy, I really do trust a lot of the insiders that I follow, especially on Twitter. I really do trust them when they say these kind of things. So, let's talk about this. I mean, obviously, again, it's not the most direct thing in the world, but at the same time, it is very scary. And honestly, it's very scary because we pretty much have them talking about, like, yeah, we're looking around, we're looking at snatching up a couple. Now, they could be saying, now, I believe they said, like, actual studios, or I guess more interested in than ever in acquisitions of talented studios. Now, Warner Bros. Games is kind of like a division, right? They'd be buying Warner Bros. Games from Take-Two, okay? And then they'd have to obviously do things to get their licenses too, so they could do DC stuff, so they could do Harry Potter stuff, so they could even do Lego or Mortal Kombat stuff, right? So they'd have to go through that whole thing. But and again, you could say, okay, well, the studios, could you argue that they're talking about an entire gaming division? I think that's what I would call Warner Bros. Games. But again, in my opinion, this is the worst case scenario. I get that there are some people, and if you think this, by the way, it's totally cool. I have nothing against you, and it's okay to disagree, right? I say that all the time, and I truly do mean it. If you think EA buying them is a good idea, that's your opinion, and that's totally cool. I've seen people, I think, kind of line it up or word it where, well, at least it's not Microsoft. At least it wouldn't be exclusive. Now, again, I'm going to get a lot of hate from this because I always get hate when I talk about the Microsoft exclusivity thing. I would prefer that these games are not exclusive. Now, you can go, oh my God, Sony's got Spider-Man, this and that. We can all freak out, all separately, right, in our own places. But if again, my personal opinion, I would prefer that not every Batman game, that not every DC game, that not every Harry Potter game, that not every Monolith game, every Middle-earth game, that not every Mortal Kombat game, all of these games. I mean, I can keep going because there's a longer list, right? I don't want all these games to be exclusive to one place, okay? Whether it's fair or unfair or right or wrong, I mean, wherever you stand on it, it is cool. It's completely okay to have your own opinions, and I get it. I understand it. I understand that the console wars are very, very real to a lot of people, okay? But at the same time, I think that EA buying them, if EA were to buy them, the only positive would be that. Besides that, this is the worst case. Look, I've always said Take-Two. I've always said I think Take-Two would be the best one to buy it. People have said, oh my God, if Sony came out there and said that they're interested in it, you'd be all for it. I mean, if you're a PlayStation guy or you're a Xbox guy, you're going to obviously be excited for if your I guess primary console is going to buy it. At the same time, I mean, I think my standards are still going to hold. If Sony buys it, I completely would understand, and I would be upset too about the fact that it would be exclusive to one place and it wouldn't be in any other place. So I don't think now you could say, like, oh, well, you're just saying that. Obviously, you'd have to prove it. Well, there's no way of proving it, right? Because I personally don't think it's going to happen. I have said for a while, okay, I even posted this on Twitter. I have said for a while that EA not only scares me the most, but they are a legitimate threat. EA is big. EA has a lot of money. EA has a lot of assets. They do a lot of things, and they sound very, very, I don't know, upbeat. Does that sound like the right word? They sound very, like, determined almost, right, to get more studios, which, again, is scary because, again, when you look at Activision, EA, Take-Two, and Microsoft, those were the four that had said that they're interested in buying it. Now, I've always said, why not just throw in just a random, like who would think maybe somebody like Square Enix, like would they have any interest in doing something like this? Ubisoft. Now, I would personally, out of all of them, I think Square Enix would actually be a weird one, but kind of an okay one. I really actually wouldn't mind that. Out of the ones that have expressed interest, I've always said Take-Two, I think makes the most sense. I think they respect their franchises for the most part. I think they give them enough time to kind of brew and figure themselves out. You know what I mean? And Take-Two has an enormous amount of money. I mean, Take-Two, again, for those that don't know, they do BioShocks, they're the Borderlands, they're Mafia, obviously, those small indie games, GTA and Red Dead. They have a lot of games, okay? And they make a ton of money every single year, right? So, now, again, money isn't everything, but I do think out of the four interested, they would be the best choice. EA, again, honestly, besides it not being exclusive, I think would be the worst choice. Some may even argue Microsoft. I don't think I would. I think I would argue EA. Look, when it comes to EA, I don't despise them. You know, I despise some of their decision-making that they've done. I don't hate every single game that EA has ever created, okay? In fact, I actually like quite a few EA games. I've said it before. I buy every year's NHL. Now, am I contributing to the problem? Yes, probably, and I understand that, and I know that. But I love hockey. I mean, real-world hockey. I love it. I don't really play the Madden games or FIFA, although I have played them before. I'm just not like a every-year buyer. NHL is something I love. Star Wars, from what they've done, I think they have done overall a disastrous job, but at the same time, Jedi Fallen Order was really, I mean, obviously one of the best games that came out last year, in my opinion. Battlefront 2, I thought, was always solid, and they improved upon it, but at the same time, you know, they've made a lot of mistakes. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't say they've done some good things, but, okay, you could be saying, well, Alex, you keep saying, like, it's the worst-case scenario, but you're actually praising them. Well, again, yeah, I mean, they've made some good things. There's no doubting that they've had some successes and they've had some failures. The things that they've done the worst, besides microtransactions, besides maybe how they've handled some of those sports games, even how they've handled Battlefield, I would argue, right? The way they've handled DICE making Battlefield. The only other thing they've done is how they've handled studios, and that is what scares me the absolute worst, because, and you could say, well, it's fair, you know, Warner Bros. Montreal has had its you know, time to do this. They've been working on a lot of different things over the last 7 years. I think, and this is a prediction I think I've said even when we talked about Warner Bros. Being up for sale. If EA were to buy Warner Bros. Games, I think Warner Bros. Montreal would be one of the first, if not the first, that you immediately look at and say, okay, so say they buy them tomorrow, okay? Batman game would come out. I think it would, and it would obviously would come out, you know, multi-console, which is a good thing. It would come out, and then they say, all right, you're done. Like, we're shutting you down. And it's like, wait a second, what? And honestly, and now again, I think in some ways, you're kind of right to do that because these guys have messed around for 7 years. Now, yes, making games is not easy. And by the way, I'm not petitioning for anybody to be fired, especially in the world that we live in. No, sir. Okay, I obviously want everybody to keep their jobs. I can just see why you would, you know, kind of, if you're a business and you're saying, okay, we're spending all, and I've said this before, they're spending all this money on Warner Bros. Montreal. They've kept the studio. They've kept paying jobs. They get paid salary, get paid out, you know, however they get paid, but they've paid people and kept the studio open for 7 years with zero products. I mean, factually, you don't make money in a gaming industry if no games come out. Okay, now I guess if Batman Arkham Origins is still selling, I guess you can say, well, that's still sales coming from them. But besides that, they have had no new game, and you've kept their studio around for the longest time. I guarantee you, Warner Bros. Games, and I guess by connection, AT&T, they've lost a ton of money by the fact that they're having Warner Bros. Montreal be open. I don't think that is unfair to say at all. Okay, I just don't. So I could see why EA would do something like that, but again, that's cruel. I don't want that to happen. And besides that, they've made a lot of sketchy decisions on how basically they want games to be. Remember how they handled Amy Hennig's team and Visceral and the Canadian, I think that was the Vancouver team that was supposed to be making a Star Wars game, like an open world game, and then they shut that studio down even though they were working on it for a couple of years because they wanted wanted it out faster. The way EA handles studios is flat out not good. And, I know I just spent that whole time talking about Warner Bros. Montreal, but it goes beyond that too. What if they start looking at Rocksteady and they start making some crazy decisions there? And again, it's not only, I know I focus on shutting them down. I mean, shutting a studio down is a pretty big thing, and that's definitely something that we should all be worried about. But again, even their direction, how they've handled them. I mean, look at what EA has done to DICE. They've made them jump around from Battlefront to Battlefield, and look at how that's affected the products. They haven't exactly done that swap or that kind of jump very well. Instead of getting two different studios to do it, they have one studio do it. And again, how they've handled it is not good. So, and again, and sometimes they've forced studios to do certain things. They haven't given studios enough time. They've pulled the plug too early on certain things. All of these past examples that EA has done, imagine that in the Warner Bros. Games thing. Rocksteady's making whatever game, okay? And then they start making a new game, and it's ambitious. And then EA comes in a year and a half, and they say, wait, it's not done yet? And I know I've seen a lot of people say that well, at least with EA, you get a game every 2 years, at least. And you know what? That is true. I think we would probably get a Middle-earth game every 2 years. I think we would get a Batman game every 2 years. I think we'd get a DC game probably yearly, because it would maybe alternate between I think it would probably go Rocksteady, Warner Bros. Montreal, and it would go back and forth, but they'd only have like 2-3 years to make the game, which may flat out not be enough time. So again, those are the things that are very, very concerning. Would Microsoft do that to them? No, not necessarily. I really don't think it would happen like that. Would Take-Two do that? No. I mean, Take-Two, again, you look at how long it takes to make the Mafia games, how long it's taking to make BioShock, how long it's going to take, right? We know, I mean, GTA 6 is probably going to take 6 years to make. Red Dead Redemption 2 took like 6-7 years to make. So we know they give studios a very, very long time. And again, I get it. That's only one part of it. But I've just discussed really all the parts in this video. I think overall EA is not a good choice. It's just flat out not a good choice. Do I think the world stops turning and it ends if EA buys them? No. Again, there are positives. It's not console exclusive. We may get games more often. Now, will they be good games? No, but we would get games more often. Now, that's up to a lot of, that's up to you guys to decide if you like that. I mean, personally, for me, it's no. I'd rather wait for a really good game than get a game yearly and have it be terrible. I've petitioned for a long time, have the sports games go every other year. The jump you'd have in quality would be enormous if you just gave those guys who work very hard. I know they do. They work very, very hard, and they only have like 9 months to make their game. Give them a year and 9 months and see how much more they can add into it. So, it's those kind of things, and those are the things that scare me the most. I think, again, as I've always said, Take-Two, if you want to go way off the board, I think, again, a company like Square Enix would be kind of weird. Nobody would be expecting them. Do I think that's ever going to happen? No, absolutely not, but that's kind of where I would go with this. Okay, so guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Are you afraid of EA buying them? What do you think happens to certain studios if EA does buy them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. And thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I hope to see you all on the next video.